Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today I want to talk about this local news segment out of the city of Oakland because I actually could not believe what I was hearing with this particular story, because I was actually first introduced to this story on Twitter.com with a viral video that gave you a clear look at exactly what went down in the incident. Yet the local news affiliate over in Oakland has decided that the real story is the law-abiding citizen defending himself without actually telling you that he was objectively 100% and undeniably defending himself. Yes, it is another media hoax that we are going over, but before we get into that, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
So the headline is a little bit ambiguous in this particular story, and it was not a red flag for me right away when this was sent over to me, but it says as follows. Video shows Oakland shop employee pulling out a gun on large group. Now look, we all understand that the media loves their code words. We all understand that large group, large gathering, and all that typically, although not always, means large gathering of black people. Period, point blank. That is typically how they'll describe it. We also know the word teens is often used, teens in all caps, even though, again, what they are referring to is black teens or a group of black individuals, and specifically black individuals that are committing crime. So I'm not going to hide the ball from you guys on this one. I'm just going to point out that that is, in fact, what we're talking about here. But unfortunately for our liquor store employee, he happens to be white, which means everything has to be shrouded in ambiguity, because that's the way the local media works.
A viral video is raising questions and a lot of concern about just how bad crime is in Oakland and how people should respond to it. The video shows a liquor store employee pulling a gun on a group of more than 100 people after he says that mob tried to loot the store and assault him.
So right here, this was the first red flag. This was the first, I can't believe what I'm hearing right now in this moment, and that is the way that it was described by that local news reporter, because she says this guy is on video pulling a gun on a group of teens, but he claims, again, very ambiguous in terms of the language when it comes to what he's talking about, that they were attacking him and going to loot the store. So he definitely pulled the gun according to the video, but he says he did it because he was being attacked. He claims that.
Take a look. This video posted to multiple websites shows a group of hundreds of bikers taking over the street in front of Golden Hour's liquor store around 4:15 Saturday afternoon.
So for my podcast listeners out there, I just want to point out, when they refer to bikers, what they're talking about is bicyclists. And when they refer to bicyclists, what they're talking about is teenagers, mostly black teenagers, on bicycles. This is not a marathon or whatever they call it when it's a bike version of a marathon or anything like that. These are the ordinary bikes that you would see teenagers have, and they are mobbing up around this particular liquor store. Now, from this specific angle, you can actually see some of the violence up in the corner, up in the top, right there, but it is being obscured by the fact that there are about 60, 70 people crowding around this particular area. I can't get an exact count, so maybe, just maybe, the local news didn't understand this from this particular video.
Then suddenly, one of the store employees pulls out a gun and people scatter. He says this all happened after people in that crowd began punching him and one reached for his gun.
Now, of course, right here, you have some clear video from this particular angle of the store employee pulling out a firearm. They circle that so you know that. But again, all of a sudden, the language becomes very ambiguous about what this mob of teenagers was doing in front of this liquor store, because it becomes, he says that these teens began punching him and attacking him and reaching for his gun. And I want to make this 100% clear to everybody out there in the audience. Based on the video that the local news is showing you, I can kind of understand why you don't have a clear picture of the assault that definitely was committed on this person, but there are other angles and other viral videos that show this clearly. The way that I was introduced to this story was via somebody in the front of the crowd filming this, and what you can see is all of these people mobbed up around this guy, and one person comes out from the crowd and throws a punch at his face.
Bro, I'm not shoplifting, that's a kid shoplifting, and you're I said, get back off me is what I saw, right? Did you see me pull out a gun?
Now, of course, I have to use a freeze frame right here because YouTube's terms of service doesn't allow me to show violence, and me in particular on this channel can't even show what the local news would be able to show you, but the full video on twitter.com will be linked in the description under where it says sources, so you could check it out for yourself. Well, after that punch was delivered, this man, the one who works at the store, does not draw his firearm. He backs up a little bit. He gets ready for the attack, which of course in an honorable situation would come from the same person who threw that punch, but then somebody from his side ends up sucker punching him from the side.
And he yanked on my belt pretty hard, and the firearm was starting to go down my pants, so I pulled it out and I backed him up. I backed them all up.
Robert says he didn't plan to hurt anyone. He also says what you don't see in the video is multiple people repeatedly attacking him, pulling out knives and attempting to steal from the store he works in. Once the group started to leave, he says he was punched again.
Just, wow, it just hit me right in the face. And then I went like this, and I heard somebody out here shooting in the air, and then they took off then.
Now again, right here, the liquor store employee describes the situation that, of course, the local news is saying, oh, he claims this, he says this, he asserts this, and all that. But we have that other angle that I was talking about that, again, was available for the local news to find. And guess what? That punch in that location in the store where they were struggling inside the store in the doorway, also on the video. Now, the liquor store employee also ended up describing people pulling knives and all that, and I didn't see that because of the way that the camera was facing, but it took all of these different factors to come into play, his gun actually slipping out of his belt into his pants, like he said, for him to pull out the firearm. And the thing is, when he pulled out the firearm, the crowd was gone like that. Even though there was no possible way for him to take out all these individuals with that one gun, that ended up ending the threat, ending the criminality right there on the spot. And this is the point where I would also highlight that this is a defensive use of firearms that does not show up in any statistics. It prevented a robbery, it stopped an assault, it probably prevented additional assaults on other employees. If there were other people that were armed in the store, once these guys ended up breaking in, it could have prevented a death. If there were more armed people in the crowd, it also could have prevented a death. Even if there weren't armed people in the crowd, this clearly and obviously was trending towards a situation where they were going to knock this guy out and then stomp on his head, which we've seen time and time again. Yet the local news media is very ambivalent about this. They're trying to add in unnecessary ambiguity about this being a clear and obvious defensive use of firearm, and unfortunately, because this occurred in Oakland, I believe that this store employee might be facing some criminal charges via the Alameda County District Attorney, Pamela Price, because the worst sin to these Soros DAs, to these woke Black Lives Matter DAs that you can commit is engaging in self-defense, especially when you use a firearm as your tool of self-defense.
Robert says he was detained and questioned by police while the group made up of mostly kids and teens got away. He believes the group is part of a regular organized bike event involving people from other cities.
I'd like to see the organizers of these events have a little bit more accountability, you know? Let's be real here. Somebody put this together, somebody brought this here, right? And this is the result. And from what I understand, this is a typical result.
So this guy points out that the organizers never take any accountability for bringing all of these youths into this location and all the problems that typically causes, and he's 100% right about that. Again, he was detained, he was questioned, but none of the people in this group of kids that attacked him were held accountable. And by the way, one of the funniest things about that video that I was showing you was the kid who filmed himself, who participated in this, summarizing the events in a way that is just perfect, honestly.
Niggas just pulled out a fucking gun. Niggas just pulled out a fucking gun, nigga. Over kids on bikes. I'm like, that nigga did sock him though, bro. That nigga started socking on him, that nigga pulled out a gun.
So this teenager filmed an unprovoked assault from a mob of kids that he was a part of against a store employee. They were trying to get into the store, trash the place, loot the place, and all of that stuff we've seen time and time again. And he says that man, the owner, he didn't realize he was an employee, pulled the gun on kids, like he did it for no reason. But what's even funnier about this is that his own lie can't even hold for his own video, because later on he admits what he saw and captured on video, which was, I'm not gonna lie, they punched him in the face. Now, for me, it's absolutely crazy that the local news media looks at this situation, sees the mob of people, sees the crowd attacking him, even though it's not 100% clear from the angle that they show, and they take the same line of description as one of the criminal participants in this attack on this liquor store employee and on this liquor store. But when you cut to the businesses across the way, because, you know, I understand people get uncomfortable, white man defends himself, big problem, you realize that there is nothing but unification in terms of the business owners or the people working in this particular area when it comes to these teens, when it comes to this group, when it comes to these kids, as they're being described by the local news media.
Philip Gumbs also saw the group move past his store, which has been shot at and vandalized in the past. He says crime is driving businesses like his out of Oakland.
I've stopped all kind of robberies from my friend's store here, you know, and it's unruly, and people don't come here anymore.
So right here we have a local business owner who's talking about how business is being driven away from this area, from his business. And of course we have images for my podcast listeners of the glass windows that have bullet holes in it. And this guy, if you guys can't tell, is a Black American running a business, talking about how these criminals are driving him out of business, driving foot traffic away from the area. And this is a major problem. But of course it is only seen as a problem because apparently this has happened in and around this area multiple times. Those bullet holes are not fresh bullet holes. His robberies are not something that happened that same day, but it's only a story because somebody defended himself with a gun and deterred the threat and prevented the criminals from committing the crimes that they consistently commit against the businesses in and around this area.
Councilmember Noel Gallo is calling for city cameras to be reactivated and a larger, more visible police presence.
It's complete insanity, disrespect for the city, and we need more. We definitely need the police to take action.
OPD says officers are investigating the gunfire but have not made any arrests.
So here you have their representative saying that they need to turn on the surveillance cameras. I'm assuming that they turned them off for some woke and idiotic and stupid reason. And they're also investigating other issues, including the gunfire. But to be clear, the gunfire was not from the liquor store employee. That was, again, from the mob of criminals, of which nobody was arrested. And he's like, we need this. We need to know what was going on. We need to prevent this. We need more police patrols. But it is interesting to me that this is all coming up now only because the liquor store employee went viral for defending the business that he was working at. When the other guy across the street is getting bullet holes, getting robbed and all that, no attention, no visits from representatives. No, we need to fix this and put up the surveillance cameras in and around this area. Before, it was all hunky-dory, but now that there's the prospect of these criminals getting hurt, they need to take action. And again, I will say to this employee, from me to you, be very cautious about the interviews that you do. You are under the jurisdiction of Pamela Price. Pamela Price hates you for a number of reasons. Chief among them is that you defended yourself and prevented criminality with a firearm, but also in addition to that, she sees black people as inherently victims and white people as inherently oppressors. So I could see a circumstance where this guy gets charged with multiple counts of assault with a deadly weapon based on his actions here, even though, again, he was being attacked by criminals.
Just last Friday, during a press conference, Oakland police urged residents not to engage criminals.
We really ask our residents to be good witnesses, to direct the police to detain or stop individuals involved in crimes, especially violent crimes. What we don't want is we don't want our residents to become victims themselves.
So the Oakland police say, hey, don't confront the criminals. Don't engage with them. Because again, their issue is the defender, not the mob of criminals. But remember, they're asking them to be good witnesses so they can have evidence to pursue cases. But they turned off the surveillance cameras in and around this area so that the criminals can get away with things more. In this particular area of California, which is Alameda County, we're talking Oakland, which is in Alameda County, Pamela Price doesn't prosecute anyone for anything, so there's no police presence to make any arrests. They didn't make any arrests out of the mob of people that were near around 100. There was gunfire, again, no arrest for that. There's assaults that are on video, again, no arrest for that. And they're saying to the victims that are quite literally getting punched in the face, do not engage, don't get involved, take the punches on the face, get stomped out, so we cannot prosecute anybody, so we cannot make any arrests, because God forbid an average everyday citizen defends himself, protects his own property, and actually ends up reducing crime in that manner. Ridiculous in every way, and I really appreciate the residents of Oakland, or at least this liquor store employee, for calling out the nonsense.
It's advice those confronted with crime, Phil, doesn't add up.
You're supposed to let them take the merchandise, right? So then what's next? You let them take the money? Then what's next? You let them take our lives? Then what? Then they're gonna say you shouldn't get involved? No.
I couldn't have said it any better myself. And honestly, if Pamela Price goes after this guy, if Pamela Price wants to charge this individual with a crime, I'm on board for the fundraiser for his legal defense, because it's disgusting that a man in the right who deterred a crime, who cut off violence at the knees without firing a single shot, is the subject of this news media, is the subject of the warning by the Oakland police, but the criminals aren't. All these different businesses that are owned, by the way, by a diverse group of people, yet the black-owned business right across the street, are being victimized by these teenagers, yet over and over again, the system bends over backwards in order to aid and abet the criminals. And when a law-abiding person stands up, that's when they notice. And they don't notice the crime, they don't notice the criminal actions, they notice the law-abiding citizen, and they tell them to stop. Be a good witness. Be a good witness to your own murder. Be a good witness to your own brutal assaults. We want you to get stomped out, so maybe when you wake up out of the coma, in case you remember something, we can kind of pursue charges that will be dropped by Pamela Price, because she loves the criminal and she thinks they're innocent angel Aladdins just trying to feed their starving family through your liquor store. It's absurd in every possible way. My hat goes off to this guy who deterred this situation, who defended himself on video, and shame on the local news for adding in all this needless ambiguity to what actually went down in this situation. But you know what? Again, those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about a man with a gun defending himself and the business that he works for. Till next time.